Blake Mathias. I'm currently at the Louisiana State University, an assistant professor there. I've been there for 3 years. It started several years ago, and I was doing a completely different study, interviewing an individual in the state of Tennessee. And this individual had just sold his business for just under $1 billion. It was around $900 million. And he was in his 40s, and he had sold this business. His business had gone public, and here he is, this multi-millionaire, and he was kind of at, okay, what do I do? What do I do next? Here I've spent my entire life working on this business, hours and hours and hours, and now I have nothing to do. Now I'm out of the business, and what do I do with all this, money? What do I do with my life? And so it was kind of this after business crisis, if you will. And he said, I wonder if other people look at him from an outside perspective and say, you've got it made. You don't have to do anything. But for him, it was really, what do I do next? And he actually said, I wonder if other entrepreneurs face a similar issue in terms of what do they do after they exit a business or cash out of a business. And so I kind of took that on and went out and kind of addressed that question that was actually posed by someone that I was interviewing. It's a very practically oriented question too, I think, in terms of a lot of us as professors, we are the beneficiaries of people like him, or people that decide, after I sell my business, I want to help other people, other professors, other departments, other students who are like me, help them start up their companies. And so, money that's flowing into entrepreneurship programs across the U.S. and across the world a lot of times comes from individuals like this who I've interviewed. And so another motivation was, well, what compels them to kind of give their money away? And so that was kind of the question that we tackled. So we did kind of two studies. So the first part was, kind of got into it from this interview, kind of got me thinking about this question. And so the first place I went actually to the Giving Pledge. And so the Giving Pledge was started several years ago by Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. It's a fairly well-known program, and it's a program to encourage the world's wealthiest individuals in the world to give at least half or more of their wealth to societal purpose, so to give their money away. It's a moral obligation, it's not a legal obligation for them. And so they've had over 100 individuals give away their wealth. And so it's really encouraged this, and we get to it in the paper, this kind of norm of giving away wealth for wealthy individuals. And so what we did is, in the first part, is we took, for each person that commits or signs up for the Giving Pledge, they write a pledge letter that's typically 2 to 3 pages long that really outlines why they're giving, why they're joining the pledge, why they're giving away their wealth. So we started with those, and when we went through all the pledge letters, out of about 140 at the time, I think there's been more since then, there were 99 entrepreneurs who had joined the pledge. So most of them, two-thirds to three-fourths, were entrepreneurs when we went through that. So we started with that, and we kind of came up with, well, here's some of the motivating factors. So that was kind of part one of the study. And then part two of the study was we interviewed some wealthy entrepreneurs that we had met. We did some snowball sampling with finding people, and these people had sold their businesses anywhere from $200,000 to over $1 billion. So we're fortunate to interview some people who had chosen, all of these individuals were either thinking about selling or had recently sold or cashed in their business. And so the other part was interviews with 19 entrepreneurs. So we found some things that I think were consistent. So the paper itself we talk a lot about stewardship theory, and some of the I think things that maybe aren't as surprising are identifying with a particular cause. If you have a family member or a close person who had cancer, for instance, you are more likely to give to certain causes. But I think the most interesting part was what we talk about is these norms of reciprocity and norms of generosity. And so what you've seen, at least with the Giving Pledge and with some of these other entrepreneurs, is that now to be a successful entrepreneur, it's not just about starting up a business. Part of it now is it's about giving away your wealth. If you are a successful entrepreneur, people look to you. That's a big event. It attracts media attention a lot of times. And what we found is a lot of entrepreneurs felt, they don't always use the word obligated, but they felt this kind of sense of obligation to give away their wealth or to give back their wealth. And years ago you didn't really see that. And so the trend within recent years, and what we show in the paper, is that there's part of a kind of now a social group or a social club, if you will, of these wealthy entrepreneurs. And people don't want to be left out. They don't want to be considered someone who sold their business for $1 billion and then kept it all. And so part of what we talk about is this norm of generosity. It's almost expected now, or they feel somewhat obligated to give that wealth away. And that to them was that kind of constituted successful entrepreneurship. A lot of them, when I ask about, well, what is success to you? It wasn't, well, I sold my business for $1 billion. It was, I gave $500 million to set up this new institution or this new center or create a new adoption center or something like that. So they defined entrepreneurial success by actually what happened after the venture, which I found fairly interesting. I think one of the implications, and I kind of mentioned before, is that we are here. I am here, standing here, being interviewed, publishing in JBV because of the goodwill of an entrepreneur who decided to give back and create a department, create a business school, create an entrepreneurship major. And so I think connecting, I think at least from a university standpoint, staying connected with these entrepreneurs is incredibly important. I think it's a good sign, and I think you see all these entrepreneurship programs popping up, and this new norm of giving back is very important. So I think maintaining relationships with these individuals who sell their businesses is incredibly important for universities everywhere. Talking about this in our classrooms as well as educators is that so much of the business is talked about. How do I start the business? How do I grow the business? How do I exit the business? But we don't ever really talk about what do you do after the business. And I'm not saying we should coerce all of our student entrepreneurs to give away their money back to their alma maters, but I think a lot of students, when you see with the prevalence of social entrepreneurship and businesses that are founded for other reasons, for the triple bottom line or whatever, the people start the ventures for more social reasons or maybe other reasons other than profits. But I think it also says it's okay to be profit oriented. And you can do it on the back end of your business. You don't have to set up a social venture that, gives shoes to people in Africa. That's great. But there's another model to kind of follow. You can grow your business. You can follow, the Blake Mycoskie model of Tom's, or you could follow the Bill Gates model of, I'll make my money on the front end and then give it back on the back end. And I think that's kind of a new way to look at kind of social entrepreneurship in a different way, that you can do it after your business. So I think that's maybe one of the practical implications.